All right, let's take a few minutes to talk a little bit more about this mysterious SUMPRODUCT function, because I know that some of you guys watched that last video and you're left still kind of scratching your head because it's not quite clicking. And that's totally okay, totally normal. I felt the exact same way when I first started learning this function because it really isn't one of the more intuitive functions that Excel has to offer. So what I'd like to do here is actually practice an example in the Excel environment so that you can see exactly what's going on behind the scenes and get a sense of how SUMPRODUCT can be used in some real world contexts. So if you open up your section 4 exercise file, I've added two new tabs here. One's called SUMPRODUCT, which we're going to cover now, and the other is called COUNTIF and SUMPRODUCT, which we'll cover later in this section. If you don't see those two tabs, it just means that you have an older version of the exercise file. Just head to your course dashboard, click into the course content tab, and click all resources to download a fresh copy of this workbook, and then you should see all of these tabs shown here. So what the heck are we looking at here? Well, this is an example of something called a transportation matrix. And in this particular case, we're looking at 4 different factories: Boston, New York, Chicago, and Oakland, and 4 distribution centers: Miami, Dallas, Seattle, and Baltimore. And the idea here is that we're shipping products from our factories to our distribution centers where they can then be mailed out to our consumers. And this should look pretty familiar to those who have taken my pro tip for power users course. This is the same matrix that we used for our optimization demo using Solver. In this case, we're going to keep things a little bit more simple, but the same concepts are going to apply. Basically, we have 2 pieces of information here in our transportation matrix. In the top matrix, we've got shipping cost per unit. So that tells us how much does it cost to ship a unit from each factory to each distribution center. So as you can see, it's very cheap to ship between cities that are close in distance or proximity. Only about $4 from Boston to Baltimore, under $2 from New York City to Baltimore, and it's much more expensive when you're shipping all the way across the country, like from Boston to Seattle, for instance. So that's the first piece of information that we have. The second piece is the actual number of units that we're shipping from place to place. So in this case, we're shipping 50 units from Boston to Miami, 150 from Chicago to Dallas, and so on and so forth. Now, our bottom line goal or objective is to calculate the total shipping cost here in cell E18, which is a function of both the units shipped and the cost per unit. So one approach that you might be tempted to take is to kind of go cell by cell here and say, okay, the 50 units that we're shipping from Boston to Miami in cell D13, they cost $15 each right here in cell D5. That means that it's $750 to pay for those 50 units to get from place to place. And since we've left our references relative, we can just drag that over and down and then sum up that entire range to get our answer. In this case, $12,158.30. And that's totally fine, that's accurate, but SUMPRODUCT is going to allow us to calculate that exact same result without this intermediate step. So let's go ahead and delete that. And now instead of 16 functions, we're going to write one single SUMPRODUCT function here in cell E18. And all we're going to do is type SUMPRODUCT, and all it needs for arguments are the arrays that we're going to multiply and then add together. And array 1 is D5 through G8. This function is not going to be moving, so I don't have to fix that reference. I can just leave it as is. And the array or matrix number 2 is D13 through G16. And it's as simple as that. Close it off, press enter, boom, get the exact same answer, $12,158.30. So essentially the SUMPRODUCT function here is running all of those same multiplication problems that we did with those 16 individual functions, and it's embedded them into its own single formula. And then once it calculated all of those products, it sums them together just like the name suggests, SUMPRODUCT, and it gives us our answer. So hopefully that's helpful to kind of give you a little bit more of a sense of how this function's working and how you might be able to apply it in a real world scenario.